Hey guys, Rexasaur here, and welcome to the next episode of our Total War Warhammer potential faction overview. And we will be talking about the vampire counts in this video. So, the vampire counts, historically speaking, were part of the elector counts of the Empire. But the origins of vampires actually came from way before, with a necromancer called Nagash. Now, Nagash is, in the lore of Warhammer, the archetype of the ultimate enemy. He is the first necromancer and the most powerful necromancer. In fact, he is the one who actually came up with the undead. So vampires, everything vampiric. He created something called the Tomb Kings, which are basically like skeleton Egypt, which I hope we will see in a future expansion of the game. But Nagash is basically, think about it as the ultimate evil person. And he created, he was eventually defeated by the uniting of all the other king priests at the time. But one of these king priestesses actually took some of his books, wanted immortality, became a vampire, and let's just leave it at that. Basically, her blood became vampire. She was eventually defeated, but the blood had gone through all her nobles, and thus came the vampire count. So they live in Sylvania, which is part of the Empire, and they kind of want to take over the Empire because, you know, why the hell not? And they are incredibly powerful sorcerers. So there are five families of vampires. There's the Von Castian, who is the most powerful family. You also have the Blood Dragons, the Necryarch, you have the Lamians, and you have the Strigoi. I think that's how you pronounce it. But the Von Castians are the most powerful, and they're probably the ones who are going to be focused on in the Total War Warhammer game. So that's basically what's... the background is that basically the vampires control a lot of undead. They all have powerful sources. They can raise the dead. They fight amongst each other a lot, and that means that they don't actually go out and kill the Empire. But I'm assuming that in Total Warhammer, this won't be much of a factor, unless, like, in the politics edge of the map, you're going to be fighting the other families in behind the scenes, and maybe they'll take control and stuff like that. But basically, the vampire counts are incredibly powerful mages, which means that magic-wise, they are the ones who are going to be using most of the magic. They don't have magicians or rune priests or shamans who deal the magic. They deal it themselves. So the heroes, the generals, actually are the magicians. And most of the magic is to do with raising the dead, which, let's go on to the units of the vampire counts, who happen to be mostly undead. So you have things like zombies, who are very slow, very weak, but you can raise dead a lot of them. So I'm assuming, this is one of the most interesting facts about the game, because will the vampires basically be able to raise nothing, or will they have to kill the enemy first and then raise the dead on their side and then they become them? It's going to be an interesting mechanic to think about, which I'll talk about in the next video. They can raise ghouls as well. Ghouls are like cryptic creatures. They're called crypt ghouls in the game, in the tabletop. And they're going to go around and kill stuff. They're poisonous and things like that. You don't really want to touch them because they'll just dissolve your armor and kill you and other stuff like that. You have skeletons as well, but they're more basic. They're less hardy than zombies and ghouls. But you can think of zombies and ghouls as being very hardy. Like, they can take a lot of damage before they die again. But things like fire will decimate them completely. You also have more ghosty kind of things. Like, you have banshees. Banshees are like these really powerful ghosts who just basically ignore armor kind of thing. And you also have even more powerful creatures. Now, vampires themselves, apart from the fact the main nobles will be the generals, but you also have small groups of nobles who form things like the Blood Knights, who are these immensely powerful creatures. Cavalry, that's the word I was looking for. And those things, they're in the actual tabletop game, they are one of the most powerful cavalry in the whole game. And Warhammer is a very big tabletop game. There is a lot of units, and they are the most powerful cavalry because they are just so powerful. Being vampires themselves means that they have these massive stat buffs and stuff like that, and they're on cavalry, so their charge bonus is ridiculous. So you can expect them to be one of the most powerful cavalry, if not the most powerful cavalry, in Total War Warhammer, and will play a very big part. vampires also get the ability to ride dragons, which is just going to be fantastic and sensational. The Empire do have dragons, but you know, they've only got one, the Imperial Dragon, which is locked up kind of thing. Whilst vampires have things like the dragon, the Abyssal Terror, which is just this basically just an undead dragon. You know, it's a dragon's been raised from the dead. It's fantastic. It's just amazing. I really, really like the vampire counts, and I know one of my friends is really excited to get this game just for the vampire counts, because they are really going to be a very unique kind of faction to play. Vampires also have other creatures. They have some monsters, such as the I think they're called Varghests, but I can't remember. I haven't really played with the vampire counts that much, so I can't remember the name, but they look like this, and they're basically vampires who've lost control over their body form, so that they turn into basically the bat version and are stuck in this bat version, and they will go around, and they are still really powerful. They're basically the equivalent of vampiric trolls kind of thing, and those are going to be like hell to try and beat on the battlefield kind of thing. So there we go. That's a vampire army is going to be a lot. I don't know. The thing is, in the tabletop, you start off with your army, and you will end up growing it in the first few moments of the battle, because your vampires are going to be raising the dead, but they're going to be raising the dead from nothing. So basically, they're just going to be creating units of zombies. They're very weak units, zombies and ghouls and skeletons. But you're going to basically be expanding your army. So the easiest way, you know, in the tabletop anyway, is to kill the vampires and then the army dies. However, in the Total War Warhammer, will it be the same kind of thing? Will you be able to raise the dead from nothing, or will you only be able to raise the dead from things that have already died? Kind of, I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see how they implement this, because the vampire counts are really, really interesting faction in the tabletop. They are very different. There is no other faction that is anything like it, and I'm going to, you know, and that's going to be the same in Total War Warhammer. And I cannot wait to see how this faction is going to be implemented. I can't wait to see this whole game, to be honest, how all the factions are going to be implemented. But you can basically, a vampire army is going to be the general, and then a horde of shitty monsters, and you're just going to be throwing your shitty monsters at them, and that is basically how you're going to play the vampire counts, or how I'd assume vampire counts will be played in Total War Warhammer. So there we go, that's vampire counts. I hope you kind of enjoyed these 4 faction overviews. I will be going briefly into Magic next episode, and then I'll take a break for today, because I've been uploading all these videos in one day, and maybe tomorrow I'll be doing a bit about Chaos and a bit about the other factions. Just leave comments below if you want to see more what is about Total War Warhammer. If you're interested about the lore, obviously you can read more of it on the internet, but I'll be happy to do more videos, since I adore talking about this. This is one of my favourite games that isn't a computer game, and the lore is just so fantastic, and I really, really enjoy it, and I'm hoping that all of you are getting as interested in this lore as I am, or at least you're sort of getting the general gist of what this game is going to be all about. So next episode is going to be about Magic, and then I will be taking a break. So thank you very much for watching. Please leave a like and a comment below what you think about all this. Which faction are you going to play? Which faction do you think you'll be more interested in playing now that you've heard about all 4 playable factions? And I will see you next time.